So my name's George Patlan. Today we are here with Mr. John Garfield, who is the general manager of Provo Marriott Hotels and Conference Center. How are you, John?
Good, George. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for taking the time for
Sure.
us. So I thought maybe if we could start, if you don't mind, just telling us a little bit about you and why you chose hospitality, and then maybe a little bit about the hotel you're in charge of.
Sure. Well, I don't know if I chose hospitality more than hospitality chose me. So I always wanted to be in politics.
Oh.
So at one point I wanted to be the president of the United States. But after watching the recent election, I'm glad I didn't choose that profession. But so I studied political science actually here at BYU Provo. And this hotel opened up and I needed a job. I just needed a job, so I came down, applied for it. And got the job as a banquet server. So when it opened up, I served at the grand opening. I did all this fun stuff, and I did banquet server. I did banquet setup. I did banquet supervisor. I worked in room service. I worked as a server. I cooked on the line for a while here at the hotel. And this kind of epiphany came to me and says, "You need to get in hospitality because I just loved working at a hotel." So BYU doesn't have a hospitality program, so started looking around, and BYU Hawaii does. So very quickly I transferred my transcripts and I went over to Hawaii, graduated in hospitality there. Graduated from there, worked at the, which is now currently the Westin Moana Surfrider Hotel and Resort. Worked there for a couple of years, then moved over to San Diego at the Sheraton Harbor Island.
Okay.
And then I worked and opened up a 5-star resort up in Lake Tahoe called the Resort Squaw Creek.
Yeah.
Did that for a number of years, and then ended up in Provo. I actually opened up the courtyard down the street as the GM. And then when this hotel was purchased, they wanted to make it a Marriott. It was the Provo Park Hotel. They wanted to make it a Marriott, and they said, "Well, who has Marriott experience?" So they gave me a call. And I've been here for the last 20 years because of it. Absolutely love it.
Excellent.
Love my job.
Yeah.
Can't ask for more.
Well, that's
If you need to close that door.
yeah, absolutely.
Those people out there are so loud and noisy.
Well, they're having fun at work,
That's
I
true.
guess, so that's a good thing. So I guess if I could ask you a couple questions, so the first one would be, so as a general manager, what are the two most important things you do every day to ensure the success of your hotel?
Two most important one is, well, there's two key people in the hotel. Number one is our associates. You know, if we're truly taking care of our associates, then they're truly taking great care of the guests, and they just keep coming back. And that's Mr. Marriott's philosophy. So that's important for me to interact as much as I can. Unfortunately, my job forces me to be in my office more than I would like. But my greatest joy from a hotel, honestly speaking, is my interaction with the associates. So that's, to me, the most important thing. And I work with other managers, grooming them and all to make sure that they are being good leaders as well. And then, of course, the second is the guests. Those are the two most important things. And try to look at the hotel through their eyes, which is kind of hard to do at first. Kind of to train yourself. As you walk around the hotel, you just look at the detail, because the devil's in the detail, and see what things the guests might see and react in that manner. It's easy for us, especially having worked here as long as I have, to kind of miss a lot of things. So I've always tried to keep that in mind. Look through the eyes of a guest. So those are probably my two most important things. I do a lot of other things. I work with ownership groups. I work with Marriott International. Ownership groups tend to take up most of my time as I work with the ownership, especially now that we're coming up to a renovation.
Right.
But really, associates, guests, that's the two most important things.
So do you find that you have to, like, periodically rethink that? Like, oh, I need to go in as focused, like, as a guest, like, once a quarter or something?
Actually, every day I have to remind myself. Because I might walk around the hotel and I'm thinking of something. I'm like, wait, stop. You can think about it later. You walk through the hotel as though you're a guest. There's always something on my mind. I just got to put to the side for a little bit.
Sure, sure. Great, thank you. So, secondly, how as a GM how do you develop the capabilities and motivations of the people underneath you?
That is a very tough assignment because everybody has different personalities, wants, desires, opinions. What I might think, they may think differently. So the thing that I try to do best is just give some counsel and help them grow on their own. I've tried in the past to kind of be more dictatorial, do it this way and only this way. Now sometimes I have to make those decisions, but for the most part I try not to be too in the way of departments. For example, like Ron, right? Ron does his deal. We get good scores with ESS. We have good ES scores, engagement scores from the staff. He's trying to do anything. I don't need to be there every single day in his business. I mean, he can handle most things. Now, I may come in and say, hey, we're filling the water glasses too high. Just as a reminder, right? Sometimes we fill them to the brim, and the poor guest, when she picks it up, it's like, let's make sure I sip a little bit before I get all over my nice dress.
Right.
So those reminders I have to do with Ron, for example. But for the most part, I just, as far as grooming, it's counseling and coaching along the way, and let them develop their own style.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you. So moving on to the second group of questions here. So sometimes the crucial conversations are actually the most difficult ones to have. So how do you, as a GM, approach those conversations?
Well, I don't know if over the years I've been calloused. I've experienced everything, right?
Sure.
There's no conversation I haven't had.
Yeah.
Some are more difficult than others, but having been in this industry as long as I've had, and the experiences I've had, when I have to sit with a manager or supervisor or employee and say, we're going to have a tough conversation, it doesn't affect me like it used to. Like I used to be afraid of them. Now I actually look forward to them because it's usually part of that coaching and counseling, right?
Yeah.
I don't view it as discipline. It might, feel like it's discipline.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, it's just a correctional. Like, hey, you can't do this anymore. Let's shift it a little bit differently and try a new approach. Most of my senior staff do not like those conversations, but I guess I've dealt with them all. So those crucial conversations are not as difficult as they once were.
So when did that mindset change for you?
Probably about, I've been in this business 30 years, so probably about 10 years ago.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Was it just kind of like a...
It just kind of happened.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, man. After you've had to counsel people or terminate people I never like terminating people.
Sure.
I do not. That's probably the least favorite part of my job.
Yeah.
But I've done it too frequently, and so now it's the point where we'll have those conversations.
Right.
Some have affected me, like I've had to terminate people I don't want to terminate, good people who made a poor decision, and I have to, stick with the company line. Usually, sometimes I after we're all done, I'll close the door and just kind of gather my thoughts because it kind of it just kind of bothered my personality.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing that. So teamwork is highly important within the hotel industry. So how do you facilitate that? How do you facilitate teamwork?
I think where teamwork really starts is with the executive committee. So at the executive committee level, my job is to make sure all of those players like each other, support each other, have the same philosophy. And you could have a bad, that's not a good term, but you could have a weak link in that chain, and it just disrupts everything.
Sure.
But once you have the executive committee that supports and just trusts each other, it just permeates throughout the entire hotel. And before you know it, there's teamwork. Great example, we have a director of finance here. That a traditional hotel, the finance people have nothing to do with operations.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they don't go out and help strip rooms, or they don't go out and help flip a room real quickly.
Yeah.
That's not their job, they're not going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Our director of finance has developed that ability and that desire to help.
Mm.
And so accounting will go up to the rooms on a big, busy day and they'll strip rooms. You've probably seen them go over and help set up chairs.
Yeah.
You know, and the staff sees that and say, wow, that's great. And that just kind of permeates this whole teamwork attitude throughout the entire hotel. Now the best was when I worked in banquets. When I first started there, I loved banquets. There's just something about the banquet staff, because you're kind of, I wouldn't say isolated, but you're kind of your own little entity in a hotel, right?
Yeah.
And you get to go everywhere in the hotel,
Mm-hmm.
and you get to experience all sorts of different experiences. That too kind of bonds that little group together as a really good team.
So how did you start that? I mean, did you go over to the director of finance and say, hey, do you want to come and flip a room?
Yeah, great question. I think I set the expectation.
Yeah.
You know, and that's first through hiring.
Hmm.
I asked the question, okay, the hotel's going to flip a room. What's your position on, well, how do you feel about the hotel, other departments assisting? And if they're going to say, well, I'm not really into that,
Yeah.
I'm not going to hire that person.
Hmm.
But so the hiring process is part of it. And then just setting the expectation with the executive committee to say, we all help each other. It's just expected.
Hmm.
And if I have a particular member who kind of doesn't, I then go in, have some coaching and counseling.
Hmm.
Say, we're all in this together.
Yeah.
No one's better than anybody else. So,
Is that something that you feel is unique as a GM versus other GMs?
I think all GMs try to develop teamwork.
Yeah.
Some are more successful than others.
Hmm.
There's nothing worse than working in silos,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Nothing worse than that. We're all one blended
Yeah.
unity trying to take care of the guests.
Yeah.
That unit has to work. There is, and I've told this to many people, or asked the question, if you were to be asked the question, what's the most important position at a hotel? What would you say? It'd be tough, right?
Sure.
Well, I say there is none. They're all very important.
Hmm.
Because if we didn't need the position,
Right.
if it wasn't important, I wouldn't have the position.
Yeah.
So every single position is very important
Hmm.
to the success of the hotel. We just all have different roles.
Right.
I'm the GM, for example. You know, you have responsibilities in banquets. We all have our roles and our responsibilities, but we're all equally as important to the success of the hotel.
Yes.
And if you have that attitude and your EC has that attitude, it just carries on.
Hmm. Great insight. Thank you.
I actually kind of think, and I've told this to people,
Mm-hmm.
the hotel takes on the personality of its leader,
Hmm.
and departments take on the personality of their leader.
Yeah. I can see that.
Mhm.
I can see that. Thank you. So speaking of leaders and the hotel industry as a whole, so what have you seen in the last 10 years, like the biggest changes? And then what do you see in the maybe near future changing within the hotel industry?
Sure. As far as, there's kind of two areas. As far as the biggest change, I would say the Gen Y millennial attitude of work.
Of work. Okay.
Great examples. When I started, the GM kind of ruled, right? You just did whatever the GM said.
Yeah.
Now, that's not the case. There's questioning. Well, I don't think I need to do that, right? You just did whatever the boss says.
Right.
Um, there's a I I'm fascinated by the millennial
Right.
person
Yeah.
and worker.
Mm.
So, for example, Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat has changed their mindset of the world.
Mm.
Some people harshly call them the most narcissistic generation of all time. It's the me generation. It's the trophy generation.
Right.
I think that's a little unfair. It's just that they had Facebook. What is Facebook? It's self-promotion. It's putting yourself out there. So you can't help to be a little bit more, I don't want to say self-centered, but self-focused.
Sure.
Because you have Facebook, you have Instagram, you're doing this. You're sharing with the world who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And so coming to work has been a real change. Along with that, the traveler has changed. So when I first started off,
The millennial traveler.
the millennial traveler.
Okay.
When I first started out, the baby boomers, they wanted to stay in their guest room. They ordered room service. It was brought to their room. Basically, when they traveled, it was like 9 to 5. And then after their meetings, they came back to the hotel and went to their rooms. You never saw them again. Well, that's not the case anymore. The millennial traveler says, I will blend it all together. So I might have my meetings, but when I'm done, I'm going to go sit in the lobby. I'll go sit in the bar. I'll go sit in the concierge lounge. I'll bring my laptop. I might get a glass of wine, maybe a little bit of hors d'oeuvres. I'll sit there. I'll be amongst other people. I might start a conversation. I may not. I just don't want to sit in my room.
Mm.
So we've seen room service revenues actually drop
Oh, yeah.
because of that. And what do we see? Lounges, great rooms that we have that are activated, and people like to be there even by themselves and just kind of experience the community.
Mm.
So those are probably the two biggest shifts I've seen.
So is that part of the reconstruction, the renovation that you're going to do there over by Starbucks? Is
Mhm.
that with the
Well-
millennials in mind, that it's a place to go and just
Mm-hmm.
hang out?
So our great room 3 years ago was renovated.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to that, the restaurant was clearly separated from everybody. The bar was hidden,
Mm. Yeah.
There was very little seating in the lobby because people didn't hang out there. So 3 years ago, we blew it all up. We expanded the walls, we raised the ceilings, put in communal tables. The bar's now in the lobby. We brought in the cafe. The reason what we're going to do with the cafe is I want to extend the counter because
Mm-hmm.
right now it's pretty short.
Right.
So I want to extend it out so that we can get 2 or 3 people back there comfortably.
Okay.
Offer turbo chef so you can do some sandwiches and other things. Some more grab to go
Mhm.
items.
Mm.
And then put drinks in there like green drinks, which are really popular, and other drinks of that nature. We just need the space to
Right.
be able to do that. And then in front, kind of develop a farmer's market. People like organic and
Yeah.
sustainable items.
Mm-hmm.
So it might be just the way we just display it. It's like a case of apples, case of oranges,
Mm. Right.
just more of a farmer's market feel.
Yeah.
And we might even, do things seasonally. We'll offer apricots during apricot season.
Yeah.
So that kind of creates that, where you want to go and grab something really quick
Right.
and then head out of it. But we have a lot of chairs in this lobby, not only the great room, but also in the center lobby.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a great environment to just sit and relax and be amongst each other.
Yeah. Well, thank you. So, here's one that I find one of the most interesting questions, but I thought I'd ask you anyway.
Okay.
So, what is the worst part of your job, and what is the best part of your job?
Wow. I think my best and worst are the same thing. That's associates.
Oh, how so?
I love being amongst associates. And when they're clicking and they're doing the right thing, I get more joy out of seeing a well-oiled machine.
Mm.
I'm lucky to rub shoulders and work with some great individuals.
Yeah.
And this hotel, 90% of them are just amazing individuals. But there's that 10% that just are cantankerous, who are ornery, who complain, who whine. That is the most difficult part of my job. I'm like, you're in hospitality. If you're so miserable, go find something else, right? I'm not forcing you to work for me, right?
Yeah.
So if you're so miserable, there's other jobs, right? If you don't want to deal with the public, hospitality should not be your career choice, right?
Yeah.
So it's that whole 80-20, 90-10 rule. I love the associates. I love this hotel, how diverse it is. I love the difference of opinion. It is what gets me to come to work. I love coming to work because I get to rub shoulders with amazing people. By the same breath, just handful of a few, I'm like, really? Hospitality is not your gig.
Right.
So, go work at a bank or something like that.
Yes, I hear you.
Well, banks you can't deal with the public. Go be a computer person.
Right.
Yeah. If you're getting into hospitality, you better like the public.
You would think.
You would think. So.
Well, thanks for that. Now, I guess maybe a little more technical question, if you will. So, as a GM, what yield management tools and revenue management tools do you use to help you do your job better and make better decisions?
Sure. Well, Marriott has developed its own what they call pricing optimization system. So it almost does it for you. It does all these algorithms and does all these analysis and say this is the best pricing you should have. These are the fences as far as length of stay and such that you need to put in. Now we've hired a revenue manager, and he has an assistant who handles the two properties, ours and the Salt Lake property. And that's their main focus. That's all they work with. But I'm talking to them at least weekly. We sit together in a meeting and we talk strategy. We talk about the next 90 days. We talk about group pace. We talk about what businesses out there that we can book. Are we falling behind pace? Both transient and group. So that meeting's an hour and a half, and we really scrub through the numbers. I don't know if you're familiar with the STAR report, but that shows other hotels in our market and how we do competitively against them. We analyze that report, look at it. Right now, we're crushing our competitors. We're doing very well.
Great.
So we just kind of talk about what strategy we can have. But it's not uncommon that I call them every day. I say, I think we're charging a little less this day, let's push it. And I go, but the optimizer doesn't tell us. And I say, I don't care. I think we can get $249. So let's do it. And sure enough, sometimes your gut goes right and sometimes I'm wrong.
Sure. Yeah.
But that's the fun part of the business.
Yeah.
My goal is to get every dime out of the pocket of every one of my guests before they leave, and that they're happy they gave me that dime.
That's right.
Right?
Right.
I'm a business guy.
Yeah.
We're not a nonprofit organization.
Yeah.
We have to make money, but I want them to be happy they gave me their money.
That's right.
So.
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. So that's changed, I'm guessing, over the last 10 years. It's a little more optimized now, and
it's much more computerized and all that. I mean, when I first started this industry, we sit together and we just, okay, all right, let's do it this way. In fact, there's a funny story. So I worked in Hawaii, and we didn't have the reservation system that you have today where you can just type in and it automatically goes to every hotel. So there was a main central. Sheraton had a reservation. They key it in, and then it would print out on this. So they would be in the mainland.
Right.
They'd make the reservation. Then over in Hawaii, it would just print out the reservations. We had to tear those off and then go to the computer and key it into our computer. Right? This is a long time ago.
Right.
This is back when the dinosaurs were still roaming the earth. So now that's all gone. But we would sit there and we wouldn't do fences or pricing. We would say, all right, let's open up reservations for 8 minutes, Okay, 8 minutes, we'll open it up
Mhm.
for this day. And so, we key in a few things. Okay, it start, and you can just see the reservations. Okay, after 8 minutes, we turn it off, tear those off, input it, and see if we sold out or not for that particular day.
Wow.
So we did it by the minutes,
Yeah.
but now we're much more sophisticated about it today.
Sure, we can talk about that all day long.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks for that. So you're about to start a new era here at the hotel, since you just went through a multi-million-dollar renovation of your lobby and the conference areas, and soon you'll be renovating the guest rooms. So how do you see this changing the future of the hotel and the clientele of the hotel? Or do you?
I don't necessarily think we'll change the clientele, but if we don't change and update the hotel, we will lose business. People will say, it's tired, I don't want to stay at the hotel, it feels dirty. So if we don't update it, people stop coming. So, we're doing a major renovation of the guest rooms in many aspects. Opening it up, we're using more tile on the ground, very little carpet, kind of like what you find at home. And new bedding, new headboards, new lighting systems, simply because the traveler expect that. The other part of it, the TV is going to it's going to be so high tech. But one of the things, like you could click on a Netflix and put your password in, and you could watch all your Netflix right there.
Yeah.
And we'll have other apps available on your TV.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to become much more savvy as far as electronics. So if we don't do it, it's going to impact us negatively. I don't think we'll change the clientele, but we will be able to push rate a little bit. People say, I think the demand will be there that we push a few dollars in rate.
Will that be a big percentage or?
Not a big one.
Not a big
2, 3, 4%.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, but nothing drastically.
That should raise the ESS.
Should.
Yeah, quite a bit.
Right now, our biggest complaint is they come in the lobby, it's gorgeous. They go into a meeting room, it's gorgeous. And then they go up to the guest rooms. And they're like, really? This is so ugly. That's our number one complaint. But now, as we start in 3 weeks, they'll go up to those rooms and go, oh, it matches what the lobby looks like.
Right.
This is a cool hotel.
Seamless.
I want to stay
Right.
here more often.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
So, way down the road, when you decide to retire, what would you hope your legacy would be? And what would you hope others would remember about you?
Well, someone asked me that not on a professional level, but on a personal level. Someone said, what would your legacy like to be, or what would you like said at you at your eulogy? I said, well, that's a great question. But I said, I hope they don't say that I was a great general manager. I hope that my eulogy, they say I was a great father, a great husband, a great citizen, good neighbor. So along that line, if I was to say my legacy, I would hope people would say that he was a good person, that he was fair, that he cared, had a good heart, versus he could really sell the hotel great, or he really pushed revenues high. End of the day, it's fun and it's important, but at the end of the day, it's just our relationships with those that are around us that is most important.
So have you seen that from a lot of other general managers that you work for? No. They're more revenue driven.
Yeah.
While at work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, I just had an employee came and saw me and says, you're the first GM, and he's worked in a number of Marriotts. You're the first GM that actually leaves your office and goes out and talks to the staff. I'm like, really? That's that's my favorite part of the job. He says, yeah, most GMs just stay in their office, answer their emails, come and they eat a little bit at the restaurant, they go right back to their office. So
interesting.
It's different.
Yeah.
Different philosophy.
Well, thank you. Well, I can already, from my perspective anyways, I would agree with your first analysis At least me.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
That is important to me.
Yeah. So, what advice would you give hospitality management majors as they're going through college?
Well, you definitely need a degree. It's important to get that degree. But while you're getting the degree, you need to have experience. So work and go to school at the same time. It's so critical. And I've literally had hospitality management majors come and see me who've never worked in a hotel but have the degree and expect to be a manager. It's not going to happen, right?
Right.
Just they don't have the experience. I've had people come with experience but don't get it. They just don't have that base foundation knowledge-wise.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a degree and you have experience at the same time, once you're done with school, now you're very marketable. Hey, I've done this. You know, you have all these skill sets you have. Plus I have a degree. Well, you're marketable to a great organization.
Yeah.
And now and then you can move up very quickly. Second thing I would let everybody know is it's not a 9-to-5 job. And to understand that before you graduate. It's 24/7. You're here when the guests need to be here, right? You understand that. I mean, you work strange hours. But it's so surprising to me how hospitality majors will graduate and want to work in a hotel and only work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5.
Yeah, right.
Well, there's jobs in a hotel for that. But you're not going to move up to be general manager if you're not willing to work when the guests expect you to be there.
Right.
So understand that it's not a 9 to 5, it's 24/7. Also, the quicker you move around in different locations, the faster you'll go up. The faster your career will go.
By locations, you mean departments or
different hotels?
Okay.
Here, there's kind of a gridlock. I'm not leaving in the near future. Most of my EC's not moving in the near future. Most of my managers aren't moving. So this poor associate's kind of like waiting, right?
Right.
It's not that they're not ready. It's just I don't have a position for them. So in that position, you say, okay, I'm ready to. You got to look at other positions. You can do the same area. You can do different states. You can do whatever you like. But the faster you want to move up, you have to be willing to relocate. Now you can get to a point like 5 to 10 years where I don't need to move around as much anymore. But at the beginning, or you can choose, I would rather stay in my location and I'll just wait. And you won't move up as quickly.
Right. Excellent.
Is that good advice? I don't know.
That's fantastic advice.
Okay.
Yeah. Which I think you've given to me before, and I'm at my point where I can. So I'm.
You're near the end, huh?
Yeah, yeah. So I guess in conclusion, just wanted to thank you personally for taking the time to.
I hope this is what you were looking for.
It is.
Okay,
Absolutely,
good.
absolutely. I think for me, you know, because I want to be a GM, it's always good to know what's important to other GMs, and it will help me direct keep my focus on on the ball.
Right.
And so, though this is for a class, I think for me it was actually for me.
Oh, good.
Just to help me, you know, see what I need to do and keep doing. And
you know, I watch you, and you're going to do very well in this industry. You're going to do very, very well.
Yeah, I love it.
But somehow it just gets into your blood, and you just love it. Right?
Yeah.
Could you imagine? I say this to people. Could you imagine being for me, a computer programmer that just looks at a computer all day and never meets another, you know, really talks to anybody but the 5 people that is in your office every single day?
Right.
For them, great.
Sure.
For me, I need to talk to people.
Yeah.
I love the fact that I can go in the lobby or I can go to a banquet and meet people from around the world every single day. And I tell people I get the opportunity to live in Utah, but I don't feel like I work in Utah.
Yeah.
Because every single day,
Sure.
there's people from around the world, from around the United States who are coming in, and we get to meet them and talk to them and visit with them. What a great job.
Yeah, I agree. You know, one of the things I was thinking of is when I get to that position, it's like I hope I'm not stuck in the office my office all day.
Mm-hmm.
Because one of the things I love about, the experience I've had so far is mingling, interacting with the guests.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we're not social about it, but we're, it's a business relationship, but still, everybody treats everybody like a person.
Right.
And you can get to know them, and
Yeah.
like you're saying, they come from all over the world, and it's just, for me, I love that. I
Yeah.
love interacting with the guests.
Well, especially in banquets, like for example, the meeting planners, they're going to be here 3 or 4 days. You actually create quite a relationship with that meeting planner.
Yes.
You're there, you get to know them by name. Hey,
Right.
Judy, how you doing? Everything good? It's great. Maybe during downtimes you talk a little bit more.
Right.
By the time they leave, it's kind of like, hey, this is a friend of mine leaving.
Yeah.
Well, Sam's coming in right after Judy, and
That's right.
there's another meeting planner, right?
That's right.
And you kind of create that relationship, and you talk to other people.
Yeah.
So it's just fascinating in that regards.
Yeah. I agree with you. So anyways, thank you for your time.
Sure.
Thank you for your wisdom, and thank you for your hospitality.
Thank you,
Yeah.
and good luck.
Thanks. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
You'll do very well.
Yeah.
Very well in this industry.
I wish how you started younger. I wish I would have started younger in this industry. It took me a while to figure out. I've had 2 or 3 careers, but 2 actually. This is my 3rd. I wish I would have done this earlier. I was like, because I love being around people,
Mhm.
meeting new people, making things
Mhm.
nice for them, and making sure they have excellent experiences. I didn't click until later. But now I know.
But now you know,
Yeah.
and before you know it, you'll be a general manager.
Yeah.
And you'll go, well, all right, maybe it's a little later, but I'm still a general manager.
That's right.
It's where I want to be.
That's right.
And I hope, I won't be here forever. I hope I never retire.
Hmm.
I could not imagine just being at home, gardening or
Right.
mowing the lawn or traveling.
Mm.
Traveling I love. But I don't know if I could ever retire.
Mm.
I'll just go work somewhere else. I'll be a bellman in Hawaii. You know? You've seen that, the 80-year-old guy
Right.
can't lift the luggage, but he's the bellman. I think Tim Conway does a great sketch on that.
Does he?
But I'll probably be that guy that
Yeah, right, yeah. I think I remember.
humor him.
Right.
Just he's a good old man. Because I need to be out of the house talking to people.
Yeah. Well, thanks,
All
sir.
right.
I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Appreciate it.